Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, my name is Tasya Saputri. I will continue the next material. Well, the next material is about the aspect of language. So, aspect of language, I will explain to you about the aspect of language is they are a structure, vocabulary, and pronunciations. Well, I will explain you one by one about the structure, vocabulary, and then the pronunciation. First, structure. All language have underlying structural rules that make meaningful communications possible. So, there are the 5 components of language are phonemes, morphemes, lexemes, syntax, and context, along with grammar, semantics, and pragmatics. These components work together to create meaningful communications among individuals. And this diagram outlines the relationship between type of linguistic units. Speech sounds make up phonemes, and then which make up words, and words make up sentences, which have literal meanings and contextual meanings. Okay. For 5 components language, I will explain you one by one about the 5 components of language. The first is a phonemes. Phonemes is the basic unit of phonology, and the definitions of the phonemes is a smallest unit of sound that may cause a change of meaning within a language, but doesn't have meaning by itself. For example, the word bake and break. Only one phoneme has been altered, but a change in meaning has been triggered. The phoneme R has no meaning on its own, but by appearing in the word, it has completely changed the word's meaning. Okay, the second is the morphemes. Morphemes is the basic unit of morphology, are the smallest meaningful units of language. Thus, a morpheme is a series of phonemes that has a special meaning. If a morpheme is altered in any way, the entire meaning of the word can be changed. Some morphemes are individual words such as eat and or water. These are known as free morphemes because they can exist on their own. Other morphemes is a prefix and suffix or other linguistic pieces that aren't full words on their own but do affect meaning. Because these morphemes must be attached another word to have meaning, they are called bond morphemes. Okay, the third component of language is lexemes. Lexemes are the set of inflected form taken by a single word. For example, member of the lexeme is run, include run, running, and ran. And the next component is syntax. Syntax is a set of rules for constructing full sentences out of word and phrase. Every language has a different set of syntactic rules, but all language have some forms of syntax. And the last component is context. Context is how everything within language works together to convey a particular meaning. Context includes tone of voice, body language, and the words being used. Depending how a person says something, hold his or her body, or emphasize certain point, a sentence, a variety different message can be conveyed. For example, the word awesome when said with a big smile. Awesome! Like that. Okay, the next aspect is the vocabulary. Vocabulary is the word of language including single item and phrase or chunk of several words which convey a particular meaning the way individual words do. Vocabulary refers to a list, a set of words for a particular language, or a list or set words that individual speakers of language might use. Vocabulary is one of important aspect of language because without a vocabulary, it can hamper language learning's opportunity. So I have the reasons why vocabulary is important. Okay, importance of vocabulary first, because vocabulary play important role in language learning, because vocabulary is also an essential skill for learning read, speak, write, and listen. Without sufficient vocabulary, people cannot communicate and express their feeling both in front of spoken and written effectively. The more people master vocabulary, the more they can speak, read, and listen as they want. And according to Wilkin in Sainsbury states that without grammar, very little can be conveyed. But without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. It means that even someone has good grammar, but it will be useless if they don't know many vocabularies. In addition, this opinion is supported by UR that a vocabulary is one important thing to be touched in learning foreign language because it will be impossible to speak out without variety of words. Okay, the next is about the aspect of vocabulary language. There are three aspects of vocabulary knowledge. First is form of any word parts that make up this particular items. The form of a word involved is a pronunciation, spoken form, spelling, written form, and any word parts that make up these particular items, such as prefix, root, and suffix. An example for word parts can be seen with the word uncommunicative, where the prefix "an" means negative or opposite. Communicate is the root word, and "ev" is a suffix denoting that someone or something is able to do something. And the second is meaning. Meaning is the concept and what item it refers to. So, notion states that meaning encompasses the way that form meaning work together. In other words, the concept and what item it refers to and the associations that come to mind when people think about a specific word or expressions. And the last is used. Used involve the grammatical functions of the word phrase, collocations that normally go with it, and finally any constraint on its use. In terms of frequently level, and so forth. Okay, next is about the type of vocabulary. There are 3 types of vocabulary. The first type is core vocabulary. Core vocabulary is consisting of several categories, and there are model items, the lexical word, stance word, discourse marker, general dative, noun, adjective, adverb, and verb. And the academic vocabulary is a set of common academic discipline. For example, analyze, approach, and assess. And the third type of vocabulary is a technical vocabulary. The words that are most frequent in a particular subject area, such as computer, science, law, and medicine. The next aspect of language is pronunciations. English pronunciation is one of the most difficult skills to acquire, and learners should spend lots of time to improve their pronunciations. Understandable pronunciation is one of the basic requirements of learners' competence, and it is also one of the most important features of language instructions. English pronunciation is one of the aspects is very important, because a good pronunciation leads to learning, but bad pronunciation promote to great difficulties in language learning. So, some ideas for focusing on specific pronunciations. There are some ideas, and they are phrasing, aspirations, mouth position, intonations, vowel length, syllables, and the last is specific sounds. I think you are familiar with the some ideas for the voicing aspirations, because we have learned before. Okay, next I will explain you about the intonations. Intonation is a very related with the pronunciations. The entire variation of pitch while speaking. This is a definition of intonations. A very obvious difference in intonations can be observed while looking at statements and questions. For example, when someone asks declarative questions like, "He found it on the street," the intonations or the voice is rising to higher pitch at the end of the word of the sentence, right? Okay. Next, I will explain you about the stress. Like as intonation, stress is related with the pronunciation, because words are stressed to make a certain emphasis. A sentence can be spoken differently depending on the speaker's intentions. So these are reasons why we need to stress in sentences. There are 2 very simple rules about word stress. First, one word has only one stress. One word cannot have 2 stress. If you hear 2 stresses, you hear 2 words. Okay? And the second rule is we can only stress vowel, not consonant. For example, present as a noun. Pray. Stress in a pray. Okay, I think that's all for my presentations about the aspect of language, and the next material will be handled by Aprilia.